War. What is it good for? Well, for one, it's given us some of the literal best films in cinema history. It's not an easy subject to discuss. It's actually quite a heavy subject, as many have differing opinions. I'm not here to discuss war itself, but I am here to open the discussion about a few war films that I think are criminally overlooked. Here's my pick for 5 underrated war movies to discuss at the next child's birthday party.
You suck, you jackass!
Number 5, Valkyrie. Valkyrie is a thrilling dive into the true story of a daring plot by German officers to assassinate Hitler during World War II. Led by Colonel Klaus von Stauffenberg, who's played by Tom Cruise, the movie captures the tension and high stakes of trying to overthrow a tyrant from within. Even though Tom Cruise plays a German, he doesn't bother with an accent, and I think that's to the movie's benefit, as this happens to be one of the best performances of his entire career. If you know anything about World War II, you know how the story ends, so this is what I like to refer to as a we know how this will end type of film. It's still very captivating and engaging, and the 2 times I've seen it, I almost believe they could get it done. Despite its gripping narrative and strong performances, I think it tends to get overlooked because of the now blacklisted Bryan Singer directed the movie, and not too long after it was released, Tarantino's Inglourious Basterds overshadowed it. But from my limited knowledge, it's historically accurate, and I think the focus on the lesser known resistance effort made it a fascinating watch that I think just deserves way more spotlight. If you're a fan of war movies with great pacing and awesome action, check this one out. Number 4, Three Kings. David O. Russell is a lightning rod of a director, and apparently in Three Kings, he and George Clooney got into an altercation where Clooney punched him out. This is a story for a completely different video, and if you're interested, I can definitely cover that. Anyway, Three Kings is an awesome film. It's my favorite David O. Russell movie, and I think he has a great resume as far as films are concerned. Three Kings is a wild ride that's set in the aftermath of the Gulf War, where a few U.S. soldiers, played by George Clooney, Mark Wahlberg, Ice Cube, and the great Spike Jonze, stumble upon a map that leads them to stolen Kuwaiti gold. The crew embarks on a heist that turns into a profoundly moral journey that confronts them with the harsh realities of war and the plight of Iraqi civilians. I think this is pretty underrated because despite its clever mix of action and comedy, there's some freaking hilarious scenes, and political commentary, it got overshadowed by more traditional war movies. Saving Private Ryan had come out just a year before this movie's release, and its unique take on the Gulf War and clear critique of American foreign policy weren't really the usual blockbuster material, but the movie's filled with some comedy gold, excellent action, great performances, awesome pacing, and a very well-directed hidden gem that packs a punch in humor and heart. It's almost like an early Guy Ritchie and Tarantino got together to make a war movie. Check it out if you haven't seen it already. Number 3, Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. Speaking of Guy Ritchie, I'm on record saying that I think he's been hitting it out of the ballpark as of late. Ever since the Aladdin live-action debacle, he really has strapped on and put out some great content. I think the most overlooked movie in the last 10 years in his film repertoire is Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. This is a 2023 flick starring Jake Gyllenhaal as a sergeant and Dar Salim as his Afghan interpreter. They're in Afghanistan and things go south when they're ambushed. The interpreter saves the sergeant's life and then goes through a series of Herculean tasks to get him to safety. Really, the movie's a tale of loyalty and the bond between soldiers, but with a twist. It highlights the harsh reality of how Afghan interpreters were treated after the US withdrawal. One thing I liked about this movie is that it starts with the usual war tropes, but then it takes a sharp turn into a survival story. The action scenes are stripped back and the script gets real about the politics and the human cost of war. I think it's a refreshing take on the genre, and it's a shame more people haven't seen it. As I mentioned, this is the least Guy Ritchie film of Guy Ritchie's career, but it's a very well-made film, but its presentation is far more restrained. You can really feel how personal this movie was to Ritchie. The end of the movie does feel a little Hollywoodized, but this is just a damn good watch that is captivating, intense, well-acted, and emotionally investing. So if you're looking for a war movie that's more than just explosions and gunfights, there are certainly some of those. Give The Covenant a shot. You won't regret it. Number 2, Hamburger Hill. Here's a fun fact. Hamburger Hill was initially shot in 1985, but the studio decided to wait on releasing it to see how Platoon fared with audiences due to the controversial nature of the Vietnam War. And after Platoon's success both critically and commercially, Hamburger Hill was eventually released in 1987, but it ended up not being the hit the studio had hoped for. The film's a gritty, realistic portrayal of the 101st Airborne Division's bloody battle over Hill 937 in Vietnam. The film focuses on the 10-day struggle where both sides suffered heavy losses, ultimately highlighting the futility of the conflict. I think this raw depiction of war is often overlooked, but it stands out for its honest portrayal of the soldiers' experiences, camaraderie, and the political complexities of the time. It's a stark reminder that sometimes the cost of victory is far too high. I've talked to some veterans, my stepdad being one for example, who consider Hamburger Hill to be better than Platoon. I fall into this category as well. And if you would like to give this the old college try if you haven't seen it before, you may come to the same conclusion. It's worth discussing at the very least. Number 1, Fury. Fury, which was released in 2014, is a gritty war drama directed by David Ayer set in the final months of World War II. It follows the story of a battle-hardened U.S. Army sergeant played by Brad Pitt, and he commands a Sherman tank named Fury and its 5-man crew on a deadly mission behind enemy lines in April of 1945. The other stars in the movie are Shia LaBeouf, Logan Lerman, the criminally underrated Michael Pena, and John Bernthal as tank crew members, who each bring a unique perspective to the horrors of war. So the plot revolves around the crew's desperate fight against overwhelming odds as they navigate through Germany, facing not only the ruthless Nazi forces, but also their internal struggles. I think this film's notable for its brutal and realistic portrayal of the violence and psychological toll of war, as well as the bond that forms between the tank crew members. This movie received excellent reviews for its strong performances and its realistic depiction of tank warfare, and I think it's one of the most underrated war movies. I think this could be attributed to its unflinching portrayal of the darker aspects of war, which I think may have been uncomfortable for some viewers. And the film tends to focus on the moral complexities faced by soldiers in battle, and this, I think, sets it apart from traditional war movies, which tend to focus on heroism and victory. And by exploring the human side of war and its toll on those who fight, I think Fury offers a fresh and thought-provoking perspective on the genre, and to me that makes it a standout film that just deserves way more recognition. Regardless of how you feel about David Ayer these days, Fury is his magnum opus, and it's a movie that I think will stick with you long after the credits roll. Of course, these are just my personal picks, but I'm interested to know what some of yours would be. Let's discuss in the comments below. If you like this video, please like it, please share it, and please subscribe if you haven't already. I love making content like this, so I would love to make more videos like this. Anyway, thanks for clicking on this video and taking the time to watch this far. Let's keep growing together, guys. And of course, as always, the opinions in this video are mine and mine alone. But what do I know? I'm but a mere jackass. I'll try to do better next time. Catch you later, friends.
That talks too much. I'm just a jackass of all trades. Don't know shit. I'll keep on talking, acting like I'm so legit.